welcome back to the channel. Thank you as ever for watching, I really appreciate it. And on this video you can expect some news. We've had some team announcements, some views. Yeah, I've got a couple of opinions to share on Tier 2 nations and on officiating, and I'll also tell you why and how I am here. Quite a bizarre story, which I'll share with you in a minute. But let's start with that England team. Just been announced. They play Japan on Sunday, and well, England have gone really strong. A lot of nations have taken the opportunity to rotate squads. In the case of Ireland, they've kept things very strong against Tonga, and in the case of England, they've gone very, very strong playing against Japan. And I think that's respect for a good nation. Let's not forget the last World Cup, Japan beat Scotland and Ireland. They're a tricky customer. They play fast rugby. They are dangerous. It's also in respect to the fact that England play Chile next, and then they have a week off. So they'll probably do a lot of their rotation in the next game before resting up and then going probably back to full strength for Samoa in the final pool game. But it is interesting, isn't it? I thought this weekend was going to be full of lopsided matches, and I'm much more positive now we've seen Uruguay play about how this weekend might play out. And I think it's maybe shows some rugby smarts in the case of Andy Farrell and Steve Borthwick that they have gone strong. We'll see how New Zealand do tonight, and Wales against Portugal and some of the other nations as well. But there you go. As for England, they name a completely unchanged back line and just a few changes in the pack. One of them enforced by the suspension of Tom Curry. So Lewis Ludlam comes into the back row. He's playing number 8. Ben Earl shifting to open side flanker. Interesting, we haven't seen Jack Willis, because a lot of people would have probably had him in the pecking order right near the top, and hasn't featured yet. But hey, no complaints there at all. It's good options all round. And then elsewhere in the pack, the two props change. Joe Marler and Kyle Sinclair come in. Other than that, completely as you were for the team that did so well against Argentina. I think the fact that the back line is unchanged signifies that England need to replicate what they did in a lot of aspects of the game, but maybe given another opportunity for those 7 guys in the back line to build a bit of attacking cohesion. We saw a couple of moments where they could have broke through and scored, and the accuracy of the passing wasn't quite there, and it will need to be better when you come up against better teams. So that's kind of obviously win first, pay the opposition due respect, but let's try and see some development of that attacking play. That's England. First bit of news. I said I would talk about Tier 2 nations, officiating, and tell you how and why I'm here. So let's do it in that order. Tier 2 nations then. Well, just again, nearly 24 hours on from that Uruguay match. How much fun was that game? And there was a brilliant moment. One of my favourite moments of the World Cup so far was in the press conference afterwards, when the Uruguayan captain said to the assembled press, lots of whom were in the press room wanting to get a little soundbite because Uruguay did so well. And he made the point. He said, "Oh, you're all here now, are you? Where were you in the press conference before the game? There was only 2 of you here then." Which was absolutely brilliant moment. I mean, it was slightly funnier because I heard it in English from a translator who made this incredibly strong, burly Uruguayan man sound like he was kind of a middle management accountant, which I found quite funny. But awesome for Uruguay. Great that they have given us a bit more hope. We haven't had an underdog tale yet. Maybe this weekend will be the one after all. We'll wait and see. But I will just point out as well, I was onto the Uruguayan press team last week saying, look, I'm going to be on the south coast near where your base camp is. Can I get some time in the camp, come and speak to some of your players? I'd love to tell the Uruguayan story. And I'm quite glad I did that before this game, because I imagine they're going to have a lot more requests now. But because that Italy-Uruguay game suddenly looks really interesting, doesn't it? And Uruguay v Namibia feels like a World Cup final sort of scenario for them. So I'm glad I got that media request in early, because now I can go back to them and say, I'm not just one of the Johnny-come-latelys that is interested in you now. I was interested in you before. So hopefully I'll get into the Uruguayan camp and you can see a bit of that. We will see. But on the Tier 2 nations, one thing I was thinking was, I'm not up for expanding the World Cup. I don't think we're ready for 24 teams. There isn't the level of quality, but some of these teams are clearly improving. And how good would it be to have, you know, like they do in the Sevens tournaments and in the under-20s World Cup, World Championship, they have like a waterfall type cup down, so games still keep being played even by the teams who get knocked out in the pool stages. Now, this would be very embarrassing for a top nation that gets knocked out in the pool stages. That, you know, they're going to have to go through and play against these smaller nations. But it would also fill the gap, wouldn't it? In the midweek space when we have no games, that's what you could do. You could have midweek games in below the main cup competition, and it would give more meaningful games and more experience of knockout rugby for these nations that we really need to give these experiences to. So please, whether it's a plate competition, whether it's just a parallel knockout competition with the teams that don't make it through in the pool, I don't know exactly how you do it, but it just seems, don't you just want to see a bit more of Uruguay? Do you know the game I'm really looking forward to now? Uruguay-Namibia, as I mentioned. And I would love to see that, particularly in those midweek games, because it's a long time between matches. Now, in the pool stages, never mind when we get to the knockouts. So there's my tier 2 chat. Officiating. So, I think I can take my sunglasses off now. The sun's just gone behind a cloud. So, in the France game last night, France-Uruguay, Roman Taufifenua got a yellow card. And in my video yesterday, I'm quite happy with that being a yellow, but I just want consistency, so that offence is always a yellow. Now, World Rugby have come out today and said the reason that Roman Taufifenua's red card was not upgraded, yellow card was not upgraded to a red card is because, and they show pictures, his arm was wrapped or making an attempt to make a wrap. Therefore, it was a legal tackle. Therefore, they can apply mitigation. I'm okay with that. My problem is, this is the first time we're hearing about it. The day after the game, we're seeing the photographs and a statement the day after the game. And this is a classic World Rugby thing. They try and solve one problem and they create another problem. So the bunker system was brought in because it was deemed that these TMO interventions were taking too long and it was ruining the spectacle for fans. Now, fine, the game's carried on while the decision's being made about Roman Taufifenua or about Jesse Creel in the South Africa game last week, or about Tom Curry for that matter in the Argentina game. The game's carrying on, great, good, you've solved that problem. The problem you've now created is that no fans understand the rationale behind the decisions. In the case of Jesse Creel, I've had lots of people in the comments, and thank you very much for them, and do keep leaving your comments, I love it. Lots of people saying there was another angle that has come out since the game, which showed that Jesse Creel actually made first contact with Jack Dempsey, Scotland number 8, made first contact with him on the ball. Great. I mean, I haven't actually seen the footage because World Rugby just wipe anything off of YouTube and Twitter and whatnot from games, so I haven't actually seen it myself, but taking that at face value, great. I now understand why Jesse Creel's wasn't upgraded to red. I now understand why Roman Taufifenua's one wasn't. I mean, there's grey areas in that one because some people will still look at the photographs that were shown and say, no, that's not wrapped. Yes, it is wrapped. But fine, I understand it. So now World Rugby have solved one problem, the time taken with these TMO decisions. They've caused another problem. No one knows why decisions are being made and what the justification is. And what would you prefer? Wait a bit longer and have the referee make the decision and be taken through the process of why the decision was made, or would you rather get on with the game and have no clue why the decisions were made? Maybe there's a happy medium in there somewhere, but I feel like if I had to choose, I'd choose how it was before rather than how it is now. Just my thoughts, I'd love to know yours. And the final thing I said I'd talk about is why and how it is I am here and looking at that view. Well, this is Nice. Well, actually, I mean, Nice is actually just over that side of the hill. No, that's kind of the west Nice. Anyway, point being, I got to Nice and I didn't plan any accommodation. I thought, I'm in a van, in a camper van, I'll be able to find somewhere to stay. And that was the case until today. But for today and tomorrow, I have absolutely nowhere to take my van, which has facilities, electric hookup and all the rest of it. I went to so many different places, all completely gone. Just got no. And I don't know why I translated no. You know what no means. Anyway, so I got chatting to this guy called Tom, who's with this group of guys that are out here, all university mates from England, following England. Got chatting. He was asking about the van and stuff, said what the situation was, and he went, well, we've got a driveway. Why don't you park it on the driveway? Well, that would be amazing. Thank you so much. He gave me the address, and I got here, and it's like paradise. And he said, yeah, you know, use the pool. Maybe I should have done the video in the pool. No, you don't need to see that. So I guess my point with this is what rugby is all about. It's the people that make rugby what it is. And you know what it's like when you play in a team. You get people from all different backgrounds, all different jobs, all different types of personality, all different body types. And they all come together, and all you need to know about someone else is they love rugby, and you've got something that binds you, and you've got something that you can crack a beer and share an evening over, and just really good people, because I get to spend 2 days looking at that, because the people involved in rugby are such good people. So I'm really grateful that when I was 6 years old, my mum took me down to my local rugby club. No one in my family had ever played rugby before, and I was instantly hooked. And all these years later, I'm here at a Rugby World Cup, possibly thinking about getting in that tub in a minute and looking out at that view. Rugby is amazing. And yeah, thank you very much for watching the video. If you're still watching the video now, you must enjoy them. If you enjoy the videos, then, well, hit subscribe, because then you won't miss any. And hit like, leave your comments, and let's look forward to a brilliant weekend of rugby and loads more updates here on Egg Chasers. See you on the next one.